It's an interesting time for business. Tariff and trade policies are dynamic, supply chains are squeezed, and cash flow, it's tighter than ever. If your business can't adapt in real time, you are in a little bit of hurt. So how do you get full visibility and adapt in real time? Over 42,000 businesses trust NetSuite by Oracle, your AI-powered business management suite. It brings accounting, financial management, inventory, and HR all under one roof. NetSuite is the #1 cloud ERP for a reason. It's your single source of truth, giving you the data and control you need to move quickly. Real-time forecasting helps you move into the future with confidence, and with AI built in, you can automate the busy work and focus on strategy. NetSuite helps you see what's stuck, what it's costing you, and how to pivot fast. If I were running a business with a lot of moving parts, I'd use NetSuite for full control over everything. Tame the chaos with NetSuite. If your revenues are at least in the 7 figures, download the free ebook, Navigating Global Trade, 3 Insights for Leaders at netsuite.com/SPI. That's netsuite.com/SPI. Hey, I get it. You've worked really hard to build up your business, and it's doing great. So great that you need help now. The most important thing for your business is to hire the right people to support it. So how can you find amazing candidates quickly? Easy. Just use Indeed. When it comes to hiring, Indeed is all you need. Stop struggling to get your job post seen on other job sites. Indeed Sponsored Jobs helps you stand out and hire fast. And with Sponsored Jobs, your post jumps to the top of the page for your relevant candidates, so you can reach the people you want faster. And it makes a huge difference. According to Indeed data, Sponsored Jobs posted directly on Indeed have 45% more applicants than non-sponsored jobs. And it's one of the largest databases of job seekers, too, giving business owners access to a wide range of candidates. And one of the things I love most about Indeed is the job alerts feature. I get notified when new candidates apply. There's no need to wait any longer. Speed up your hiring right now with Indeed. And listeners of this show will get $75 sponsored job credit to get your jobs more visibility at Indeed.com/smartpassive. Just go to Indeed.com/smartpassive right now and support our show by saying you heard about Indeed on this podcast. Indeed.com/smartpassive. Terms and conditions apply. Hiring Indeed is all you need. The perfect product launch. It's the goal for every brand marketer. High heat, fast sellout, and fans posting recipes like trophies. What do Sydney Sweeney's soap drop, Taylor Swift's tickets, and your next launch have in common? Well, they're not bought, they're bragged about. Fanfare turns your drop into a moment. Fanfare cues real fans, blocks bots, and builds launch experiences worth screenshotting. Want hype without the heartbreak? Get Fanfare's 5-step hype drop playbook with our proven success formula and make your next launch unforgettable at fanfare.io/playbook. Again, fanfare.io/playbook. This is the Smart Passive Income Podcast with Pat Flynn, session number 66. Bueller?
Welcome to the Smart Passive Income Podcast, where it's all about working hard now so you can sit back and reap the benefits later. And now your host. He used to create stop-motion movies when he was a kid. Pat Flynn.
While DIY website tools are everywhere, most fall short on design and performance. Hit publish. Framer ships your site worldwide in seconds. No code, no compromises. Framer is a powerful, user-friendly platform that delivers developer-level results without writing a single line of code. Make your designs move and convert with Framer. Framer brings your site to life with powerful animations, dynamic content handling, and a design-first approach that helps your site stand out. Framer is the design-first, no-code website builder that lets anyone ship a production-ready site in minutes. Browse hundreds of pixel-perfect templates or even design something of your own on a totally blank canvas. Add bold animations like appear effects, text effects, scroll and looping animations, and much more in seconds. And it's free to start. The built-in AI handles the heavy lifting of generating starter layouts and can even translate your entire site to any language. On the back end, you'll get responsive breakpoints, built-in hosting, a flexible CMS, and privacy-friendly analytics. Ready to build a site that looks hand-coded without hiring a developer? Launch your site for free at framer.com and use code SPI to get your first month of pro on the house. That's framer.com, promo code SPI. Framer.com, promo code SPI. Rules and restrictions may apply. With running your own business, legal questions always come with the territory. Like, can I use this contract or agreement? What do I do if a client doesn't pay? Am I even structured the right way for taxes? Instead of Googling your way through legal landmines, imagine having a law firm ready to address your business's legal needs without the sticker shock. That's what you get with Legal Shield's small business plans. Legal Shield helps entrepreneurs access real legal help on contract reviews, collection letters, business formation guidance, and even help navigating IRS audits. Members can schedule consultations, upload documents through the app, and get support from a provider law firm that knows small business laws in your state. Plus, consultations on taxes or trademarks help you stay ahead of potential problems. And if a client is late on a payment, Legal Shield steps in with professional collection letters so you can protect your hard-earned revenue, all for a fraction of the price of hiring a lawyer on your own. Go to LegalShield.com/SPI or call 833-570-9980 to learn more and get big business legal support without a big business budget. That's LegalShield.com/SPI. Yo, what's up? This is Pat Flynn, and welcome to session number 66 of the Smart Passive Income Podcast. We are currently in research mode, in heavy-duty research mode, in preparation for the upcoming Niche Site Duel 2.0, which is a live case study where I'm going to be walking through the process of building a website from scratch, picking the niche, building the site, creating the content, marketing it, revealing everything along the way, good and bad, with the hopes of getting it to rank high in Google and eventually start to earn an income from it. I've done this before a little over 2 years ago with Niche Site Duel 1.0, and it was a complete success. Not only did I take a site from nothing to number one in Google in less than 3 months and created a brand new income stream for myself, one that has since earned over $50,000, but it also showed a lot of other people what to do step by step and also what not to do, because I definitely made some mistakes along the way. That's part of this process. And hundreds of people decided to take action after that and followed through and have created sites of their own. Many of them now earning a side income, and some people even doing so well where they got to quit their jobs and are starting their own sort of businesses and empires based on those niche sites that they created initially. You can find all the documentation regarding that process over at nichesiteduel.com. That's for Niche Site Duel 1.0. However, that's going to be the home for Niche Site Duel 2.0 as well, for those of you out there who are wondering sort of where all that's going to go down. nichesiteduel.com. Now, a lot has changed since that first go-around, which is why I wanted to do this again. And this time, I'm taking a more sort of educational approach before I get started. And what I'm doing is I'm interviewing a ton of experts in search engine optimization, in content creation, and keyword research, people who know and are experiencing what's working today. And if you're listening to this in the future, again, I recommend you check out nichesiteduel.com, which is where this new case study / experiment will be housed. And any updates to the strategies that happen between now and whenever you're listening to this will be posted there as well. So what I'm doing is I'm interviewing all of these experts and asking, well, really just what's working today, so we can use those strategies for when I do the Niche Site Duel, and a lot of you who are following along can use them if you choose to use them as well too. And so for the next 2 or 3 episodes, you're going to hear different experts' takes on sort of what to do today to get a site ranked in Google and to have it perform really well. And today we're going to start with Spencer Haws from nichepursuits.com or nichepursuits.com, however you want to say it. Spencer and I just recently met in person last month at Social Media Marketing World, but we've been really good friends online for probably close to 2 years now, and he makes a living and he's been doing this for a while, by building niche sites. And now, also more recently, he's adding to his income stream because he has an amazing tool out there that's doing really well, and it's really helpful for keyword research. That tool is called Longtail Pro, and it's actually the tool I'm going to be using in my demonstrations for Niche Site Duel 2.0. I know I've promoted Market Samurai before, and I still do. It's a great tool. I still use it today, but I just wanted to give a lot of you the sort of other side of the story with Longtail Pro and show you how that works, because a lot of people are using that tool right now, and I want to show you sort of how I use it to the best of its ability. I'm really starting to enjoy the software, so I'm really looking forward to sharing that with you. Anyway, Spencer is on today because, well, for one, he's just awesome and super cool, and more recently, he ranked a niche site of his own. He's going to share with us, his keyword selection process, how we got the website to rank, and other cool tips and strategies that you and I can take away as we prep for the official launch of NSD 2.0. So without further delay, here's the very educational, inspiring, and informative interview with Spencer. Actually, before I begin, like with all of the research I'm doing right now, I'm just hunting for what seems to be working right now, but I have yet to decide exactly what strategies I'm going to use. So just keep that in mind. Some of what Spencer says I might follow. A lot of it I'm sure I will. Other things that he and other people suggest, I might not. So you're going to see a post announcing my exact strategy, or at least the plan, and the step-by-step process to go along with that I'm going to take sometime soon on the blog. So make sure you head on over to smartpassiveincome.com when you have a chance, subscribe to the updates, sign up for the newsletter, and if you haven't already, just do it now. So in the meantime, once again, here is Spencer from nichepursuits.com. Whether you have a site already or not, this stuff is going to be helpful for you. So let's do this. All right, what's up, Spencer? Thanks for coming on the show today. How are you?
Hey, I'm doing great, Pat. It's great to be here. I appreciate it very much.
You know what? We're really excited to have you on here for a number of reasons. You have a blog at nichepursuits.com that has pretty much exploded the last couple of years. I've been following you for quite some time now, and recently you've been doing some really cool stuff with some new niche sites that you've been creating and sharing publicly on your site, and we'll get into that. But before, I want to kind of start from the beginning and talk about you and sort of how you came to be online. So why don't you just kind of give us a quick rundown of how you got started online?
Absolutely. I really started out building websites more of just a hobby to see if I could get something up online. Back in 2005, I think, was the first time I bought a domain and tried to build a website. And it was really just to see if I could learn some HTML, get something on this thing called the World Wide Web, and see what would happen. I had really no intention of making money from it. It was just sort of a hobby that I did after I was done working for the day, just dabbled around a little bit. And then I decided, well, why don't I create something that I'm actually interested in? And so my very first blog was actually a finance blog, a personal finance blog, because I was in the financial services industry. I got a degree in finance. And so it was something that I was somewhat knowledgeable about. And I figured I can, put up this great blog and, try to, at that point, I decided, let's see if I can make a little bit of money. But essentially, I didn't know what I was doing as far as getting traffic and marketing and developing a true readership for that blog. And it went nowhere. But that initial experience led me to researching, how does Google work? How do the search engines work? How do you actually get people to come to your site? And all these other things. It opened up a whole world for me that I explored for the next few years. And eventually in 2008 is finally when the light bulb went on for me that, and there's a lot of stories in between here, obviously over a few years that, depending on how dig you want to deep, that's fine. But essentially, I had always been trying to go after these big topics like credit cards and personal finance, all these things that were super competitive, which I didn't understand at the time. But eventually the light bulb went on for me that if I wanted to rank in Google and get some free traffic, I needed to be targeting niches or keywords that were just easy to rank for. And finally, when that light bulb went on, I built a couple of really small niche sites that didn't make very much money, but at about $30 a month each, that was more than I was making on this, other blog or other ventures that I'd put so much time and energy into. I was making this money passively. And so from those initial couple of sites at the end of 2008, early 2009, I started to replicate that process over and over again for a couple of years till, and of course, along the way, got better at the process. But had a portfolio of lots of niche sites. And in 2011, I quit my full-time job and have been doing it ever since.
Nice. Awesome. Now, when you say lots of niche sites, how many are we talking?
Yeah. So when I quit my job, I had about 200 niche sites, and wow. The number, it's a huge number. And the number is still about the same, right around 200 niche sites. Some don't do as well, and those domains expire, and then I build new ones. And so, I have a lot.
Do you sort of felt like, you just saw success a couple times and you just wanted to replicate it over and over and over again, and then, sometimes it would work really well and sometimes maybe not so much, and you just got to this point where there, just kept building, and it was just, was it a fun process for you?
Yeah, I really got excited about searching out and finding these business opportunities as I saw them, these keywords. That really was exciting for me, and that's what kept me going. Is I always saw a new opportunity. I did research and I saw these different topics that I knew that if I just built a site on it, I could rank very quickly in Google. I could be getting free traffic, and sometimes my sites would only make $1 a day, but then sometimes I had other sites that would make, $20 or $30 a day. It ranged, or sometimes they didn't pan out at all. But I was very excited about the process, in particular the keyword research, and seeing all these opportunities that were out there. And so I replicated the process. I started getting other people involved as far as outsourcing so that I could build the business and do things quicker rather than just on my own. And that's exactly what I did. I built a business out of it.
That's awesome. Now, I do want to get into keyword research a little bit, because that's obviously a very important part, and that's sort of what got you started, was seeing keywords as sort of synonymous with opportunity. But 200 niche sites, how do you manage that? I know for me, for example, I have the Smart Passive Income blog. That takes a lot of time, and I do have a couple niche sites that still take a few hours a month, I guess. But 200, how are you organizing yourself and keeping yourself on top of all that?
To be honest, Pat, most of my sites don't require any ongoing maintenance. For the most part, I've built these sites up to a certain point, and they start ranking in Google, and essentially I'm satisfied with that. A lot of them I'm not trying to build into something huge. I'm happy with the $1 a day or whatever it is that they're making. And so after the first month or two, I've put in that initial effort to get the content up, the site ranking. I basically leave it there and don't touch it at all. So it really is fairly passive. Now, there are some of my bigger sites, the ones that do a little bit better, and maybe there's only a half dozen or so of those that I do pay a little bit more attention to, that I will either add some content to or do some other things to actively manage. So the amount of time that I'm spending on existing sites is actually relatively small, only a few hours every month. I spend more of my time really finding new opportunities and building new sites.
Awesome. Do you feel like with I mean, you have a portfolio of 200 plus websites to look at, so I want to get your opinion on this. Do you feel like when you build the site up and then you sort of quote let it go, or it's gotten to a point where you can just sort of walk away from it for a little bit, do you feel like that eventually they will not be as high in the rankings, or that they kind of decelerate, I guess, as you could say? Or do you find that they stick around and stay up there, or even accelerate?
That's a very good question. And the answer is all over the board. Some of them do stick there. A lot of them don't. And in particular, I mean, you have to think about the time that I was building these niche sites was 2010, 2011. I built a lot of these before the Penguin, Panda, other updates. So, of course, when a lot of those Google updates occurred, a lot of my niche sites were affected where they weren't ranking as well in Google, just like everybody else out there. And so the reality is that, yes, Google could change things down the road. And so some of my sites that maybe are ranking well today won't be ranking quite as well tomorrow. But I still do have quite a few of my sites that I built, 2 and 3 years ago that I haven't touched for that period of time, essentially, that still are bringing in income each and every month.
Yeah, awesome. Now, you would mention Google changing their algorithms and stuff, like Penguin update, the Panda update. I mean, there's a whole slew of updates. They just keep coming at us. How has your business changed from before when you were doing keyword research and building these sites and sort of outsourcing that process and sort of like a well-oiled machine versus what you're doing now? How has your business changed, or is it the same?
It has changed. I mean, the core idea is still the same in the fact that I'm looking for these low competition keywords that I can rank for, and I'm building sites that I can rank in Google and get that traffic for, and then monetize those sites. So that core business model is the same, but just like you said, I mean, some of the processes have definitely changed. Before, I was a little less focused on building out more quality sites. I mean, I think that if I'm honest with myself and if everybody's honest with themselves, that we're building sites, you could essentially build a site that only had 2 or 3 pages of content and with outsourced content and just throw it up and using certain link building tactics, you could get it to rank very, very quickly. And that just isn't the case anymore. And so the velocity at which I'm building sites is significantly decreased. So I'm building less and less sites every month, but the sites that I am building are a little bit bigger as far as the amount of content that I'm putting up. The content's higher quality, and I'm focused on different link building tactics than I was previously, doing things a little bit differently. So we can dig into that, but yes, my processes definitely have changed a little bit, more focused on quality, and ideally I'm trying to build these into something a little bit bigger rather than going after sites that are just making $1 a day. I'm really trying to set my threshold at something that I can build a site that's going to make $500 a month or something. So definitely a little bit bigger sites.
Awesome. Yeah, it just seems like that's what Google's like hoping for these days, is more quality type of websites. And it's cool to see that you and I think everybody else now knows that we got to do more than just these 3-4 page sites.
Right.
Now starting fast forwarding to now and sort of what we're all doing now. Obviously, keyword research is very important, like you said, finding those low competition keywords. What is your criteria and method for finding the keywords that you then process into a website?
So there's some very basic things, like the keyword needs to get a certain amount of search volume every month. And so I like to find keywords that at least get 2,000 searches a month. And these are exact match searches. I find that one of the most common mistakes that people make is that they will look at broad match, and that's very different from exact match, as I'm sure you're well aware. But yeah. I throw that out there as sort of a new person mistake. You should always look at the exact match because that's how many people really are searching for that exact keyword each and every month. So 2,000 is really a minimum. I like keywords that are around 5,000 exact match searches a month or more. And so that's, a basic criteria. There's some other things that I look at, like, 3-word phrases tend to do better than like 1-word phrases. And there's different reasons for that. A little bit longer phrases just tend to be easier to rank for. Right. But really what I'm looking at, and this can be a very in-depth conversation here, is how difficult are the existing, or how competitive are the existing sites that are ranking in Google right now, the top 10 sites in Google. I look at those and really analyze that competition, because that's who I have to beat. It doesn't matter the number of competing pages. I know that that's a metric that's thrown out there sometimes, like, there's only 50,000 competing pages for this phrase. That means it's low competition. Well, no, not really. You're only competing against the top 10 sites in Google, and so that's what you should be looking at. And so there's some specific things that I look at there. And when I determine that I can outrank those top 10 sites, I build a site on that keyword.
Awesome. Okay, so you had mentioned 2,000 to 5,000 exact max searches per month. 3-word phrases, typically less competition just because there's more words in there than one or 2-word phrases. Now, how do you even start? Like, yes, this is the criteria, and we'll get into the sort of competition criteria in a second for everyone listening out there. But where do I even start? Like, how do I know there's certain tools out there. Obviously, you have Longtail Pro, which is an amazing keyword research tool that Spencer has created, like a great one that competes with Market Samurai, which is the one that I used to use, and I'm actually using Longtail Pro a lot more now. So what those tools do is it shows you this data of how many searches there are for a particular keyword, and also the sort of competition metrics. But where do you even start? Like, do I just start putting random words in there, or start putting things I like in there and seeing what comes up?
Well, you could. You certainly do have to start with some sort of seed keywords. And there's lots of different ways that you can go about brainstorming for these seed keywords. A lot of times I will go to like Amazon.com or eBay.com and look at the different either categories or top sellers. I like to personally dig into some of the more, I don't know what the best word is, but sort of random or less popular categories. Sort of the technology category is maybe the things that people are excited about, but I'll look at maybe the really boring things, like industrial parts or something, to get some seed keywords that are just really out of my norm. And so I'll look at either Amazon or eBay. You can do all sorts of things, just looking around you. If I just look on my desk, I've got a calculator, I've got a CD case, I've got some racquetballs. Anyways, all of these could be seed keywords. So using some popular shopping sites or pulling up a list of hobbies or other lists, large lists of just things. And inputting some of those seed keywords is a good place to start.
Right. I mean, for me, I remember when I was doing keyword research pretty heavily back in 2010 for the first round of the niche site duel, I would just kind of, wherever I went, I would just try and notice things and, be a little bit more focused on what I was looking at or what I was hearing than I would normally. And whenever I found something interesting that just popped in my brain, I would put it in my iPhone as a note, and then I would just stick it in Market Samurai, or whatever keyword research tool that you end up whatever you end up wanting to use, and just seeing what the results are. And what happens is you put seed keyword in, you get a result of about 800 other keywords related to it, and then you could see where the searches are. You could filter down to the ones that are between 2,000 or more, and then see what the competition is. So I like I like looking at. I think that's a good idea. Looking at Amazon, eBay, trying to see what you could do that's maybe a little less popular, where you might be able to kind of have a heads up on what might be less competitive. Now, when it comes to competition, what are the metrics that you're looking for exactly?
Okay, so the competition, there's a few different things that people should be looking at. And one of the most simple things is relevancy. Are the top 10 results that are existing for whatever keyword it is, are they using that exact keyword in the title of their page? And tools like Longtail Pro, and I'm sure lots of others out there will pull in the title of that page for the top 10 sites. So if our keyword is survival knives, are the top 10 sites using that exact keyword within the title of their page? And that's important because, as simple as that sounds, sometimes there are top results in Google that aren't using that exact phrase, and that's a sign of weakness out there. Other things to look at are the page authority. That's an SEO Moz metric. The number of links pointing to the page. And then to a lesser extent, page rank, site age, and there's other things that you can look at that. as well. But in particular, as far as the number of links pointing to the page, that's very important. But you would also want to dig a little bit deeper. Are the links high quality? Are they actually valuable links as well? That's something you could do to dig a little bit deeper.
Okay, so just to recap, as far as competition, when you find a keyword that might be perhaps between 2,000 or a little bit more exact max searches per month, then that's the first level or filter. The second level filter is competition. How relevant is that keyword, or how relevant are the top 10 results in Google for that specific keyword? Are they using the keyword in the title? Number 2, the page authority, which is that like a number you can get?
Yeah, that's a number provided by SEO Moz. And it's actually a really, really good number that SEO Moz has basically put together to essentially, it's essentially a number that explains how well, I'm trying to think of the word that they use, arbitrary content would rank in Google on that page. Essentially just saying, how authoritative is this page overall? And that page authority number takes into account already things like number of links, essentially page rank. They use Moz rank as their number. So it already takes into account a lot of those things, this page authority number. But yeah, just how authoritative is that page overall?
Okay, so we got relevancy, page authority from SEOmoz.com, number of links to that specific page, and then digging deeper, looking at the strength of those links, which those tools can do for you, page rank of the site, and also site age to a lesser extent. So looking at all those things, would it probably be easiest to kind of share with the audience kind of an example? I know you have a public niche site that you shared on your site that you're bringing people through the process from start to finish, and you just recently got it to number 1 in Google. So that's awesome, man. Congrats on that. I saw you were making money from it. So maybe we can just start from the beginning with that site. How did you find the niche? What were the metrics like, and the competition? And then we'll go from there.
Yeah, no, I think that's great. That'll give us a concrete example that we can talk about. So the keyword that I picked for my public niche site project that I'm doing is best survival knife. And the way that I initially found this keyword is I went out and I found a huge list of hobbies that are out there. And so I just started typing in some of these seed keywords into Longtail Pro. And one of the seed keywords that I found, one of these hobbies that was on this list was, I believe it was knife making. And so when I, input knife making in as a seed keyword, one of the related keywords was best survival knife. And it met the criteria. I don't remember the exact number of searches. I believe it's 4,400 exact match searches a month. So when I dug a little bit deeper doing the competitor analysis, looking at the top 10 results in Google, I liked what I saw. And we can look at, if you want me to explain that, what I saw in the top 10. Yeah.
I like when you said, I like what I saw. What did you see?
Well, I'm actually pulling up Longtail Pro right now.
Cool.
So I can have all the metrics right in front of me. But just like I explained to you, the first thing that I did, and what I always do, is I look at the title of the pages. And as I went through and read the title of the pages, I can actually see right now 1, 2, 3, 4. About 4 of the results are not using the exact keyword best survival knife. At the time, the first couple of sites, in fact, in their title, it does say survival knives, but it doesn't have the word best survival knife. And so that was the first, if I just target the keyword a little bit better than them, perhaps I've got a chance. Let's dig a little bit deeper. So that's the very first thing I did. Relevancy in the title. I liked that. The first couple of results weren't using my exact keyword. then I looked at both the page authority and then the number of it's called juice page links that I look at. Again, this is an SEO Moz metric, and we pull all of these metrics into Longtail Pro.
Cool.
But essentially, juice page links, that means the links that actually matter, that are actually carrying some weight, that perhaps have some authority. And when I saw that, I can still see that there's about 5 or 6 of the results that are in the top 10 of Google that have less than 10 juice page links. So they have very few quality links pointing to their site.
What would be a number that would be a red flag for us for juice page links?
I personally like to see multiple results that have less than 20. Once you start getting above 50 or so, that's usually just something that I avoid, because I like to find things that are a lot less competitive. So 20 or less is maybe a good rough number. And I always like to see at least 2 of the top 10 sites in Google that have weak metrics. So, there's certainly multiple here, but I don't like to just see one weak site in the top 10. I like to see at least 2, if that makes sense.
Yep.
And so I look at the juice page links, and then I can kind of confirm that with the page authority that I'm looking at here. Usually a weak page authority is 30 or less, and I do see a few results here that have 30 or less. And so those are the primary things that I look at, and then it's kind of an older metric, but I still, people like to look at page rank still, and so I'll go over and look at the page rank, and I can confirm that there's 2 or 3 results that have either a 0 or no page rank here. And so overall, it looks like, competitive first page of Google. So that's kind of very quickly how I look at things and what I saw in particular for this keyword.
Okay, great. Question for you. At this point, you found a keyword that meets all the criteria. You're getting excited. Do you know anything about best survival knives?
No, not really. It's one of those things that that I needed to do some research on, essentially. So no, I wasn't an expert on survival knives by any means. But what I did, and I don't always do this as in depth. I usually will just hire people that know about survival knives or whatever.
Okay.
But I actually dug, because this was a public project, I actually did dig in and do a lot of research on my own.
Mm-hmm.
And in fact, what I did at the very beginning is looked at all of these sites that are currently ranking in Google and thought to myself, how can I create something that's actually more valuable than they're providing right now? What can I create that is going to answer the person's query when they type in best survival knife, that's going to give them better information than what's already out there?
Yeah.
And so when I thought that, and looking at the results, I really, basically what I saw was a bunch of lists. These websites would list, here's what we think are the top 5 survival knives, or here's the top 10 survival knives. And they didn't really give a lot of reason. They sort of just said, here they are. And so I thought, you know what? I bet, and as I did my research, I discovered that this is the case, that really the best survival knife depends on what situation you're in. What are you using it for? Are you hunting? Are you just camping? So everybody's best survival knife is probably going to be very subjective. It's very different. And so I decided to compile a huge list of 50 potential survival knives and created a comparison shopping chart is what I did. That had all sorts of things from, price to quality of the steel to the length of the knife and other things that people could then come to my site and could sort the different columns based on whether they could afford a certain knife or the quality of steel they wanted or how big of knife they wanted,
Mm-hmm.
and find the best knife for them.
So you're actually building something useful.
Yeah. That's what I'm trying to do. Definitely is that basically wanted to really have the best resource out there for survival knives. And I think I've done a pretty good job. And so I created that, and also did a bunch of research and wrote some great content, and essentially wrote an article explaining what I just explained here, is that everybody's survival knife, their best knife is going to be different. Here's a chart I've created. Here's what all the criteria is. And here's, 5 of the knives that I think are really great, but you do your own research.
Right. Yeah. And this sort of reminds me of the same approach I took with security guard training, HQ.com, my first public niche site. And a lot of people were asking me, well, you don't know anything about security guard training, and how are you going to do this? And it was exactly what you had just said, looking at what was existing out there on the top 10 of Google and seeing and approaching it as if I was someone typing in that keyword looking for information about that. And same thing with me. There wasn't anything really good out there, so I just created it myself. And I think that's okay to do. And if maybe you don't know much about that particular topic yet, but if you feel like you have the ability to help people understand more about it, then do the research just like you did, Spencer. I mean, that's really, you deserve to be at number one if you're putting in that much effort.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think you're spot on that other people can do this. There's lots of niches out there that you really can create the best resource available out there. And in addition, since creating that chart and some of the initial content, I've now actually gone to elance.com and hired somebody that is an expert on camping, survival gear, and other things to produce additional content. So now the additional content that's going up really is written by somebody that has used all kinds of knives and does know what to look for a little bit better than I personally would.
That's awesome. Okay, so I think the question we're all waiting for here is, well, how did you get it to rank so high in Google?
Well, to be honest, I think what I just explained is exactly why, because of the keyword research. And I always stress this so much, that the keyword research is by far the most important thing that you can do in creating these niche sites. And I know what we're going to get to, but I do want to stress this, that finding that low competition keyword is by far the most important thing that you can do. If you find a bad keyword or a super competitive keyword, it doesn't matter how great your content is or how good your links are that you build to your site. Chances are you're not going to rank anywhere. And so keyword research is how I got it initially to rank, or as one step. The great content, I do think, is so important. Yes, you can still get poor content to rank, unfortunately, on Google, but I think for the longevity of the site, you need to have great, useful content. And then the final thing that we can dig into here is link building. I did have to do some sort of link building to get the site to rank in Google. I did a few different things to build some links to the site.
Yeah, I had just posted an article. A lot of you listening to this may have read that or have seen the video with Alex Becker from SourceWave. And in that article, I talk about how really we have to do some kind of link building. Whether, there's different kinds of link building. Obviously, the one that Alex shared was a little bit more gray/black hat than, writing guest posts, for example. But either way, you still have to create links, I think, in order to give yourself a little bit of a push. So I'm interested to hear about sort of what you did.
Yeah, when it comes down to it, you do have to let people know that you're out there, and that includes, building links so that Google knows that you're out there as well. So here's my basic process. When I built my site and when it's brand new, I did what I'll call very minor link building for the first month or so. I did do some web directory submissions, some very basic web directory submissions, and nothing fancy here, just to 15 or maybe 20 general web directories that sort of let Google know that I'm out there. And of course, these directories would list me there as well.
Where are these web directories? Like, can you give us an example of one, perhaps, just so we know what kind of site you're talking about?
I would have to pull up my list. I've actually, and I will give a reference to where I got all of these web directories is pointblankseo.com. John over there at Point Blank
John's
SEO.
awesome.
Essentially that's where I got this list. And let me see if I can find any real
Sure.
quick.
I mean, well, I'll link to, or you can just send me a link later, and I'll put it in the show notes. So don't worry about it. So we'll keep going here.
There's like technorati.com, blogs.com, alltop.com, other web directories like that.
Okay, and they happily accept, your URLs for new sites.
All of them won't. Some do have a manual process that you may or may not get approved, but a lot of them, you'll get approved. So you won't have 100% acceptance rate, but you will get approved on some of them.
Okay,
absolutely, for new sites.
Cool.
So after I do that, or around the same time, I'm also going out, and I did this myself, making blog comments on relevant blogs. So I went out and found bloggers that were writing about survival knives or survival gear or emergency preparedness, related topics, and would actually read their article and make a genuine comment. So they weren't spammy comments where I just said, hey, come check out my new site. I basically just said, hey, great article, and just, with my name, like any sort of WordPress comment, your name links to your site. So
so you wouldn't put any sort of anchor text in there as your name, which I know a lot of people do.
Didn't.
Some people do that when they leave comments on my blog still, which I'm like,
I didn't. I didn't worry about any anchor text. Is just my name, essentially, for the most part. And what this does is it initially just gets you some links, and I will mention that these were no follow links. Probably I didn't worry if they were do follow or if they were from a high page rank. I just wanted to find relevant blogs and wanted to leave a comment. And again, these are just sort of a base of links to get some relevancy, because Google does look at where links are coming from as far as are they relevant. So I think that gives me the relevancy factor. And also it gives me links coming from lots of different root domains. And that's also another thing that's important. You don't want thousands of links coming from one or two sites. You want, lots of links coming from lots of different domains. So that's what these base set of links gave me, that relevancy and lots of linking root domains.
I think the relevancy thing is very important. And that was something when I was doing the Niche Site Duel 1.0 with the security guard training, relevancy didn't matter. It could have been any site linking to you. That's a PR, whatever site. That's bringing some link juice in. And now it seems like the trend is, after talking with Alex, after talking with you, Spencer, that the actual where that link comes from actually matters, and the content on that page and whatever's discussed on there actually matters as far as how relevant it is to your site.
Yeah, that absolutely helps. And so ideally, you'll get all of your links from relevant places. That may or may not always be the case, but you should certainly try to.
Right. And that makes sense. I mean, I don't know why that wasn't the case at first, but...
Well, just because maybe it was easy to do it otherwise, but now hopefully we're doing it the way that we should.
Cool.
But then I'll maybe, if you want to call this phase 2, I'll move into a little bit more links and
this is around like month 2, you would say? And
this is probably around month 2. So I really don't do a lot of link building during the first month, but as it moves into the second month, I'll do some things like maybe a Squidoo lens. I'll do some Web 2.0 properties, wiki properties, and then places like Go articles. You can still do some basic links there. Then there's SlideShare. There's DocStock.
What was that last one? DocStock?
DocStock. It's kind of like a SlideShare, if you're familiar with that.
Yeah, those two, SlideShare and DocStock, those are the sort of new, sort of high quality link areas, I guess you could say. Before it was, YouTube and social media. Now it seems like these sites I keep hearing as far as link building is concerned. So obviously it takes a little bit of work to get a link on there because you need to have a sort of slideshow of some kind.
Yeah, and you really can just produce, an article and turn it into either a slide show or a PDF or something and upload it that way.
Right. I would think there's a lot of opportunity there too. I mean, there's not very many people, in the survival knife industry creating slideshows. I mean, if you created like an epic sort of slideshow, it could potentially, be seen a lot.
No, absolutely. And, so there really is a lot that I could be doing even more than I have. Some of these initial things that I did really were just, for the link building factor of it. But I could go back and create an audience in a lot of these places. People have said I could do quite well in Pinterest or on Pinterest with survival knives. Whether or not I could, I don't know. I could generate a Twitter following and do all sorts of things with the niche site, of course. But this initial round was just for link building purposes to get my site to rank a little bit better in Google.
Right.
And so, yeah, those are some of the basic things. Press releases, you can do a press release or two, and that, it doesn't have to be super complicated. Again, it can just be basically an article about your site that you do and some basic social bookmarking. So yeah, that really is generally what I did for link building. And then there is one other tactic that I used, a little bit more advanced, that we can go into if you would like. It was involving using an expired domain.
Right. That's sort of what Alex talked about a little bit. And yeah, it might be interesting to talk about that as well, because it seems like you're doing a lot more sort of quote white hattish stuff compared to just using expired domains. But yeah, I think to be honest and upfront with everybody, which you are on your website, it only makes sense to talk about that too.
Yeah. So what I've talked about is initially what I do for any niche site, and a lot of times that is all that I need to rank a site. But if I do need a little more, an extra kick, a little extra boost, I may go to using expired domains. As you said, you did an interview with Alex there. And you can use them directly where you, and when I say expired domains, essentially, there's a whole process you can go through to find domains that have expired, perhaps even for a year or two, and then you can go buy them for $9 because they've expired. And when you buy them, they'll come back because there's lots of existing links pointing to these old sites that were sites. The page rank on these may come back as a 3 or 4 once you have them alive again, up and running again. So the one tactic is to then put content on that expired domain and link to your niche site. But what I did on this particular project is I didn't use the expired domain to link directly to my site. What I did is I actually found a webmaster out there that is in the survival niche that wanted a link from my expired domain that had a page rank of 4, pointing to his survival knife site or his survival site. And sort of in exchange for doing that, he then linked from his very authoritative survival site to my niche site, the bestsurvivalknifeguide.com.
That's
so
interesting.
Sort of a 3-way linking. So, I was using this asset that I had to essentially generate a link to my niche site. And I did do that once. There's one link pointing to my site using that.
Do you think that helped, that one link?
It certainly didn't hurt. I think that it did help. I mean, it's so hard to know which link caused the increase in rank, but yeah, I definitely think it helped because it's coming from this guy's site, which is a very active, real blog community with great content, and I got a great link from one of his pages in content that absolutely I think it helped.
Okay, awesome. Is there any sort of takeaway that the audience can have as far as that strategy is concerned, or was that sort of just is that something you could duplicate again?
Yeah. I mean, I think that you could duplicate that. You would have to go out and find people that would be interested in doing this. So you'd need
Right, right.
to contact individual webmasters, and that can take some time to find related blogs and essentially pitch them on the idea. But definitely, people could go out there and do that, and perhaps have it work for them as well.
Cool. Very cool. Now, the last part of the puzzle before we finish up, and again, thank you so much for your time, Spencer, and all the knowledge, is monetization. And I remember back in the day, Niche Pursuits was all about using AdSense to generate an income, and it was going very well. Would you mind sharing sort of what happened and then sort of where you're at now and how you're monetizing your new sites?
Yeah, I can dig into that. It's a little more painful, as you know, but
Yeah, I'm sorry.
no, but all is good now, so it has a happy ending. But yeah, so my primary strategy was monetizing with Google AdSense, and the reason I did that is because there are so many keywords that you can monetize with Google AdSense that you can't monetize with other things quite as well. For example, I think your niche site, the security guard training site, is a perfect example.
Right.
You can make a lot of money with Google AdSense, but you can't really make any money with Amazon Associates.
I think I made like $6 in the last 2 years through Amazon Associates by links to like batons and stuff like that. But
yeah, and you've tried, you've tried other methods, but Google AdSense just works well. And I think there's just thousands and thousands of niches that work so well with Google AdSense. And so that's what I did. And it's easy. You build the site, you throw up Google AdSense, and you're done. Well, it seems like about a year ago, the Google AdSense went through this rampage where they started closing all sorts of accounts, and my account was closed. For whatever reason, I didn't get a good explanation, just a template email from Google AdSense. And at the time that my account got closed, I was making about $10,000 a month from Google AdSense. So it hurt, quite a bit. And so, anyways, to make a long story a little bit shorter, I went out and I found a way to get a new Google AdSense account, essentially by creating a new business entity and getting an AdSense account in that business entity's name. So I am still active and happy with Google AdSense on lots of my old existing sites. It's been a year since then, so I'm back up and running. And those sites are earning just like they were before. I put my new account code on the old sites, and everything's good. But for this new niche site project, because I'm a little bit more protective now of my Google AdSense account, I didn't want it publicly out there. I decided to monetize my survival knife site with Amazon Associates program. And so that's what I'm using for that. And it's actually going quite well with that. I actually think that Amazon is maybe even a better choice than AdSense would have been for this particular niche, because people can go to Amazon, buy the physical product for themselves, and I get a kickback of 6 to 7% based on whatever they purchase.
Yeah, man, that's awesome. And how much money? How long did it take you to get to number one? And how much money are you making from the site right now?
Yeah, and I only know the exact number of days because I just wrote a blog post on it. But it took me 62 days to reach number one in Google, which is pretty quick for people listening out there. I usually like to take 90 days before I really decide if I'm going to rank well. So 62 days, number one in Google. In the very first month, the first full month, so March, last month, I made, I think, $87. And this month, I just have made a little bit more than $300 from the niche site, about $320 for the month of April. And my goal is to hit $500 next month. So we'll see how it goes.
Nice, man. And then again, once you get to a certain point, you'll probably just sort of let it be or have somebody else work on it for you while you create other ones. Is that right?
Yeah, that's essentially right. I am still producing content for it. I'm doing lots of individual knife reviews on the site. And, it may reach a point where I've done, 50 knife reviews, covered all the major knives out there, that I let it sit for a while. But The additional content is helping a lot. I'm getting lots of great long tail traffic. Search queries are coming from all types of keywords now, not just my best survival knife keyword. And that's helping me obviously boost my bottom line. So as long as the income is increasing each month, I may just keep producing a little bit more content. But I do suspect that, yeah, I'll have it more hands off in probably a couple of months where I just let it sit and hopefully stay up at the top of Google and earn money each month.
Man, that's so cool. Well done again. This question just popped in my head while you were talking. As far as the knife reviews, how are you writing those? Are you actually, where are you getting the information to write those reviews?
Yeah, so this is where I've actually involved somebody else because I'm not an expert on every knife. So I actually am having this survival expert that I hired off of Elance to do that research and writing of the articles for me for the most part. So I'm,
Nice.
I'm paying, him X number of dollars for each article to go and do that for me.
Can you give us a range on how much that article might be?
Sure. Yeah. Between, most of them are probably average about $15. So about $10 to $20 an article.
Oh, okay. That's not bad.
Yeah.
And especially if you can get up to $500 a month, then it's sort of just a self-perpetuating machine.
Yeah, and these are one-time investments, these articles. It's not something I'm paying for constantly. Once it's up there and I paid for, it's this initial investment. And once the site breaks even, if I can earn $500 a month without really investing hardly anything every month, and it's quite profitable after that.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, when you think about, other ways that people sort of generate a little bit of cash, stock market or mutual funds or whatever. I mean, this just is, it's like, I feel like if you can do this well, and even it just might take only one site, it could really help out, your lifestyle, even just another $100 a month, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, the investment is really relatively small when you compare it to other types of businesses, brick and mortar businesses, or really anything that people may want to get involved in. You might spend a couple $100 to create a niche site. I maybe spend a little bit more, it's $300 or $400 or something, that I've invested so far. But I mean, the return is huge. On that. So for a relatively small investment, and that's with me outsourcing almost everything. If you do everything yourself, the investment is much less. You can have a really nice return.
Awesome, man. Awesome. Well, thank you, Spencer, again so much for the information today. Also for your tool, Longtail Pro. I know I keep mentioning that, and it's not just because you're here on the show, but it's actually a really good tool that I'm starting to use more and more now. Congratulations on all the success you've had with that. I remember you ran a promotion just fairly recently and killed it. You did really well with that, so congrats.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that very much.
And for anyone out there looking for a new keyword research tool, I've obviously used Market Samurai. I talk about that a lot. I've used that for years. But you might also want to look at Longtail Pro as a good option for you. And we'll have links to all those things in the show notes. Spencer, if people want to get a hold of you or ask you questions or, see what else you got going on, where should they head?
Yeah, the best place is to head over to my blog over at nichepursuits.com. We really do have a great community over there. Lots of people building niche sites, talking about how to rank in Google and do different things. Very active over there. Come either read some of the content and read a comment, or there's certainly a contact page there where people can get in touch with me via email right on nichepursuits.com. They can also follow me on Twitter at nichepursuits.com or at nichepursuits.
Awesome. So for those of you out there listening, if you enjoyed the show and you appreciated Spencer sharing all this great information, hit him up on Twitter at nichepursuits. So again, thank you, Spencer. I appreciate it, and I can't wait to see what you got going on in the near future. And we'll probably have to have you back on the show to see, how we can start building sites in 2014.
Yeah, no, absolutely. It's been great being here, and I look forward to your niche site Duel. I hope everything goes well. I think it's going to be a very exciting process.
It'll be fun. It'll be a fun experiment, and thank you for the inspiration to help me sort of get back into the niche site building process.
Absolutely. Anytime. I love doing it. It's been great. I mean, it is what I do. And then being able to finally sort of publicly reveal one of my domains, I've gotten great feedback. So it's always great to hear that feedback. So I appreciate you taking the time to interview me here, Pat.
Cool, man. If somebody wanted to go and just check out all of those posts about your best survival knife website, where were they? Is there an easy spot to go to on your site, or a special link or something?
Yeah, if they can go to nichepursuits.com/niche site project.
All one word, all like no spaces or dashes?
That's right.
Okay, niche site project. So nichepursuits.com/niche site project. Cool, man. Thanks again. I appreciate it.
Thank you very much. Thanks for your time.
All right, thanks once again to Spencer from nichepursuits.com for revealing his strategies and sharing his site and exactly what he did to help it rank. If you wanted to pick up Longtail Pro, which is Spencer's keyword research marketing software, which I'm actually going to be using throughout the entire niche site Duel 2.0 process, you can head on over to smartpassiveincome.com/longtailpro. That's a URL that will redirect you through my affiliate link, which means I do earn a commission if you do go through that link and make a purchase at no extra cost to you. If you do go through it, again, that's smartpassiveincome.com/longtailpro. Just thank you so much, and let me know that you went through it so I can thank you in person or an email. And of course, if you have any questions about that product, please let me know. You can also get that link and other resources mentioned in today's session in the show notes at, as always, smartpassiveincome.com/session66. So again, the show notes at smartpassiveincome.com/session66. All right, and before I finish up today, I wanted to do something new, which I'm going to be doing in a lot of the future episodes here. I'm going to be playing a voicemail that I get from somebody who is listening to the show who has a question or comment, and I'm going to play it for you, and then I'm going to answer the question or respond. And if you wanted to leave your own voicemail, you can go to speakpipe.com/Pat Flynn, and you'll have a chance to go on the show. If you leave me a voicemail, make sure you mention whatever site that you have, a little bit of free publicity there if you have a good question. And here's the first question from Aaron.
Hey, Pat. My name is Aaron, and I'm the owner and editor-in-chief of a magazine called Paint Crush Magazine. It's a nail polish magazine, and it is for all intents and purposes, a beauty blog. My question is about podcasting. How do you podcast for a medium that is primarily a visual medium? So there's beauty bloggers all over YouTube, and that's because they're giving makeup tutorials and nail polish tutorials, etc., and fashion as well. But how does that translate to a listening medium where it's just what ideas would you have to be able to do this? Because I don't see hardly any new podcasts in the beauty and fashion industry at all on iTunes. And so I realized that if I could be one of the first people to kind of ride this wave, then I would have a huge audience, but I'm not sure how to do that. If you could help out, that would be great. Thank you so much. Bye.
Thank you for the question, Aaron. That's actually a very common question I get from a lot of people, because a lot of people are interested in doing podcasts, but they're in an industry like yours where it's primarily visual. There's, when you think about it, it's not just beauty, but there's designers and architects and people doing photography and things like that. So the question is, how does a podcast make sense for these types of industries? Or does it even make sense? And my answer is absolutely yes. Podcasting would make sense, although it may not seem like it at first for these visual industries. For one, like you said, there's probably relatively little competition just because it's not so obvious to create a podcast. And of course, if people are interested about a particular topic, they're going to want to consume information about it as much as they can. And if they have the option to do that with audio, they will, especially when they're on the go. They don't have access to a computer. They're at the gym or on a walk or whatever. But again, what kinds of things would you podcast about? So for a lot of these visual industries who do have podcasts, there's a few photography ones out there and things like that. They talk about things like the business of X or the organization regarding X. A lot of them also include interviews with a lot of the top people in the industry or CEOs or marketing people from these big companies, talking about maybe the history of the company and even some insider info and news about what's planned for the future. Also, what's really good is including any sort of stories about that particular topic. Those are always good and fun to share and are great for audio. So for you, for example, again, your website is paintcrushmagazine.com, I believe. And on your site, you have a lot of great looking tutorials. If I did my nails, I'd totally use your site to help out. But check this out. What if, for example, you interviewed people who worked for these companies you were promoting or talking about in your tutorials, Mac or Dior or whatever. As a reader, I would see that and I'd be like, wow, that's so cool that you actually hook up with these companies and you talk to them. And it would really skyrocket your authority in the industry, I feel. Like you have these connections that no one else who is also doing tutorials may have. And you can ask them questions about the company, any sort of new things that might be on the horizon, or maybe what the most popular items are, and hear it directly from the company. That would be so interesting. And you don't really need the visuals for that kind of stuff. In fact, not having the visuals would actually help you, because you can say that there are visuals or videos or any sort of images that go along with them on your site, which would force people back onto your blog from the audio, like in your show notes, to check out whatever those things that you mentioned on the show may be. But again, focusing on the stories or news, what just came out, where can I get it, or things like that. Interviews, how about what should be going through my head when I walk into a Sephora? I know what the stores are, and stuff about the mindset that is involved with your particular industry. Again, it would work more in tandem with your website as opposed to just on its own. It would help you reach out to new audiences and help drive traffic back to your sort of visually appealing site, even though the podcast is just audio. It'll take some getting creative and thinking out of the box, but things like that can help. And if you don't think you could speak too long about a topic, for like 30 minutes or whatever, there are a lot of successful podcasts out there that are less than 10 minutes long, but they come out each week consistently, and they do very well. And I apologize for those of you listening. If you hear some baby noises in the background, it's my daughter. But anyway, so hopefully those are some things that can help you, Aaron. Think about it. Thank you for the voicemail. And if you're listening to this and you'd like to ask a question that I can potentially answer for you on the show, head on over to speakpipe.com/PatFlynn, and you can leave me a voicemail there. Now, to finish up, I want to talk about what's going to be coming out in the next episode 67 of the Smart Passive Income Podcast. I'm really excited to welcome Neil Patel from quicksprout.com to talk more about SEO, and I got to tell you, he's probably the most requested guest I had when I asked my audience, who should I be interviewing and who has can't miss content. It was Neil Patel from quicksprout.com. So he's going to be on the show, and I got to tell you, it's just incredible. The amount of information and the kind of information he's giving. He's on a whole new level. I mean, he's helping companies that are making millions make even more millions of dollars and get millions of traffic or users to their websites. So he's going to be there helping us, the little guys. And that episode is actually going to come out 2 days after this one goes live. So if you're listening to this in real time or as it comes out, it's going to be this coming Friday. Yeah, she's excited for Neil too. And if you are listening to this, in the future, well, then that doesn't matter. So until episode 67, I hope you are as excited as I am. Head on over to smartpassiveincome.com, sign up for the newsletter, and get ready for some awesome things to come. Thanks again, everybody. Cheers, and all the best.
Thanks for listening to the Smart Passive Income Podcast at www.smartpassiveincome.com.
I get it. You want to grow your business, but selling at scale feels overwhelming. You're drowning in complicated funnels, creating different lead magnets, or constantly posting on social media. And that gets exhausting fast, especially when you're trying to sell to hundreds or thousands of people. But what if you could sell at scale with a simple, powerful quiz? A score app quiz or assessment asks your audience key questions and gives them instant personalized results based on their answers. Your audience gets to know where they are now and shows them the steps they need to hit their goals. You can set up a quiz in minutes using Score App's templates and have a powerful lead magnet that'll do the selling for you. The best part is your audience actually wants to take this quiz, and you build huge amounts of trust before you even make a single offer. No hard sales, no chasing leads, just value at scale. Get 50% off the first 3 months using the discount code SPI. Just head to scoreapp.com/SPI. Again, that's scoreapp.com/SPI. Hey there, quick pause here because I have to tell you about a tool that completely transforms the podcasting workflow. Riverside. I get it. I used to juggle multiple platforms just to record one podcast episode. It was exhausting. Zoom for recording, Audacity for editing, and then a bunch of different apps just to create clips and social posts. I've tried other ones as well. They were okay, but they were clunky and super time consuming. That's where Riverside has massively helped. I can do it all in one place: recording, editing, repurposing, one platform, one streamlined flow. I just log in, record with my guests no matter where they are in the world, and just like that, studio quality audio and high resolution video all in one. And get this, even if your Wi-Fi glitches, Riverside records locally on your device so everything sounds and looks crystal clear. But here's my favorite feature: Riverside's AI editing tool. You can remove silences and filler words with just one click. Hours saved. With Magic Clips, Riverside also automatically finds the best moments and turns them into ready-to-post videos for YouTube Shorts, TikTok, Instagram, all without the extra editing. So if you're looking to level up your production quality and simplify your workflow, go to smartpassiveincome.com/Riverside and use code SMART to get 1 month free on the Pro plan. That's smartpassiveincome.com/Riverside, promo code SMART. It's built by creators for creators, and I think you're going to love it.